So here we have the Raspberry Pi B. The Raspberry Pi B is a small computer, full purpose, that runs Linux. This green board that you see here is the Raspberry Pi, and you can buy that for less than $40 typically. But for less than, let's say, $100, you can get a kit that includes the Raspberry Pi board, a plastic hardshell case, and a Wi-Fi adapter that plugs into USB, so you can connect to your wireless network. Now, the Raspberry Pi has a Ethernet connector and 4 USB connectors, one of which we're going to use for the Wi-Fi adapter, and then we're going to be able to plug a mouse and a keyboard into these other 2 slots. And it has a micro USB slot here where the operating system and data reside. And here are the GPIO, or general purpose input-output pins, where you can connect different things to it to control things and receive input. So we're going to take a look at actually doing some basic input-output with the Raspberry Pi. I ordered this kit online called Monk Makes Electronic Starter Kit for the Raspberry Pi. It was about $25 on Amazon, and it comes with a few electronic components, some jumper wires, and several project cards that include a project. Get out here. That include different projects that you can make, and there's software you can download onto your Raspberry Pi to operate these projects. And it gives you some instructions on the back, what to do. And the one we're going to talk about today is called the reaction timer. So it comes with a breadboard and different colored jumper wires, such as these, that you can use to wire up a particular project. In this case, we're going to talk about what's called the reaction timer, and I'm going to show it to you now. So here is a breadboard with the reaction timer circuit built on it. This right here is an multicolored LED, so it can either be green or red depending on what signals are sent to it. There's a couple of resistors here, and there are 2 momentary on push buttons that can be used with the reaction timer. So the way this works is that randomly this LED will either be green or red, and depending on whether it's green or red, the idea is to press one of these buttons as quickly as possible, one button for red, another button for green, and then the program with the Raspberry Pi will time how long it took for the player to react to the color. So now we're going to hook it up to the Raspberry Pi and see it in operation. Okay, so here we have the Raspberry Pi powered up, connected to our breadboard with our reaction timer circuit, and here is the Raspberry Pi. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to type Python and then the name of the script, which is 06 reactions.py. py is the script for a Python program, and now it says on the instructions, press the red button when one of them lights. And let's take a look. I'll be ready to press it. Alright, that's green. Okay, and let's see what happens next. This is green, that's red, so I got to do that one. This is green, this is red. And now it says red. And the output shows you how much time has elapsed. So this particular program I thought was an interesting one for studying how the Raspberry Pi works, because it combines a few different elements. It combines the randomness of when a light is going to go on, making the light go green or red, and also receiving input such as when you press the button, so that goes Those inputs go back to the Raspberry Pi, and also it gives you an idea of how to measure time, because if you notice on the output screen it tells you how much time has elapsed. So by studying this script you can really get a hang of what is going on with the Raspberry Pi. So now I'm briefly going to show you what the program looks like, and I'm going to use the VI editor. So you can see basically the programs come with instructions about which pins to light up, and then we can see some of the commands such as GPIO output, things like that. And I'm editing this right on the Raspberry Pi, but you can actually, edit it on your own computer and then copy it to your SD card or whatever you want to do. There's a lot of different ways to work. But hopefully this gives you an idea of what the Raspberry Pi can do. I think it's a great learning tool. And the Raspberry Pi actually, as you can see, is a full-fledged computer, and it comes with different programs. Let me see if I can just give you an example here. It's got the Open Office suite for word processing and a spreadsheet. It's got a bunch of games, including a whole bunch of Python games. So it's got all kinds of good stuff. Now, I don't really think a Raspberry Pi is a substitute for a desktop or laptop computer, but it just goes to show you that you get all these things that you can use, plus the ability to interface easily to hardware, makes it a really good learning tool. So I hope you check out the Raspberry Pi and invent something great. Thanks for watching.